First, we have no experience. Kip, what do you think about people with no experience as a hiring manager?
Well, I got a couple of thoughts. The first thought is I typically need somebody with experience, and the reason why is because, well, that it's why I'm hiring, right? I've got problems that need to be solved. I've got tasks that need to be done, and I can afford to train you, to a certain degree. But if you don't have any experience, then I don't know how to, kind of like, I don't know how you're going to take that training and really internalize it. And so that's a big problem that I have, especially, if I'm a smaller organization and I don't have a big training budget, or maybe I just don't have a very big team at all. I'm gonna need somebody that has experience. Practically the only employer that I am aware of that will take you without any experience is Uncle Sam, the U.S. government, right? But they're still going to screen you to make sure that you've got the right aptitude. But most organizations need to see that you have some kind of experience. I mean, that's what you've seen too, right, Jason?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of years with Uncle Sam working specifically with the military, in and around the military. And when I joined the military back in the early 2000s, I had zero experience in the job they hired me for. I was hired as a naval reactor, nuclear reactor operator, and I've never touched a nuclear reactor before. I didn't know anything about nuclear power, and yet they took me because I had the aptitude. They put me through 2 years of training, they taught me, and then they said, okay, here you go, you're now a nuclear reactor operator. And that is the way Uncle Sam and the military tends to do things. We pick up people in the world based on your ability to learn something, not that you already have experience. But most other employers are going to be looking for you to have some level of experience. And this becomes a huge barrier to entry for people trying to get into the cybersecurity field. And I know we've talked about this before in previous episodes. I'll link that back in the show notes of some great ways to get experience when you don't have experience, because the big question everybody always has is, if no one will hire me, how do I get experience?
Right.
But just to keep it kind of short, Kip, what are some of the top ways you see people gaining experience when they don't have a regular job job that gives them that experience?
Right. Well, so the first thing that I would say is that you can get experience by just doing experiments on your own. So you would just build yourself a home lab, or you can build yourself a cloud laboratory, and then you can set up some systems in there. You set yourself up a network, and then you can actually conduct experiments, right? So you might say to yourself, well, I think I'd like to have something to do with vulnerability management. So then what you can do is you can go out and get virtual machines that are, believe it or not, deliberately created to be vulnerable to a bunch of exploits. You can go get yourself a free vulnerability scanner, and then you can actually, pretend that that you're on the job and you're going to scan this server. You're going to figure out what its issues are. You're going to roll patches. You're going to change configurations. That's experience. I mean, did anybody pay you to do it? No, but did you get smarter? Did you figure out how stuff actually works in the real world? You absolutely did. And I think that counts. So that's number one. Number two is you could actually volunteer. There's lots of organizations out there in the world, and you're going to want to look at smaller ones as opposed to larger ones, but they would love to have help with things like patching and checking for vulnerabilities. There's all kinds of cybersecurity work that you can do to gain experience, although you may not get paid to do it. And the third thing actually kind of bleeds over into the next thing that we want to talk about, which is no certifications. Well, if you take a certification like Security Plus, for example, and you do more than just try to study to pass the test, if you actually take the time to do the things that are required of you to get the certification, well, I think that's a form of experience too. Uh, Jason, does that sound right?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about with no experience, when we talk about things like volunteering, Kip mentioned you want to go for a smaller organization, because if you're trying to go to the Red Cross, they have their own cybersecurity teams. They're not going to need you as a
Right.
volunteer. Instead, if you're going for something that's more of a local church, a synagogue, your place of worship, a local government that is in a small town that doesn't have the ability to afford a cybersecurity expert, those people are going to be a lot more apt to let you into their network and let you take over and start
Right.
doing those things. Another
That's
place
right.
I've seen people volunteer is Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. One of the guys on my team, he actually volunteers for the local Boy Scout chapter here in Puerto Rico, and he is helping build up their networks and do the securing of their networks to help them as they're getting ready for an influx of summer vacationers and summer scouts coming in.
Yeah.
And so these are all places you can go to gain that experience. And really, when it comes to experience, it doesn't necessarily have to be paid experience, although getting a job and getting paid for something is awesome. But it is one of those things you can get by doing some of these other things. One other great suggestion is that when you're looking at experience and you're trying to get a job, we talked about this in one of our recent episodes called the two-step, is apply your current experience to a cybersecurity-like position. So if you're a project manager, get a job being a cybersecurity project manager, and that will get you closer to where you want to be, and then you can gain experience, and that's still counting as a cybersecurity role, and then move into the analyst position or the pen tester position or whatever position is that you're actually looking for. And being able to use that to leverage your existing experience in another field into the cybersecurity world is really helpful and can help you overcome that hurdle of saying, I have no experience. Because if I look at your resume and I work with you one-on-one, I can probably find that you have some experience somewhere, even if you haven't figured it out yourself.
That's right.